Strong aftershocks continue to rock quake-ravaged Vanuatu as the death toll mounts as the small Pacific nation desperately appeals for more international help. Search and rescue efforts continue to find people trapped beneath the rubble after yesterday's powerful earthquakes. At least 14 people have been killed and more than 200 injured, officials confirm. Other major concerns, the lack of water and power. The internet and phone services also badly hit. Workers racing to restore telecommunications. Most of the damage occurred in the capital, Port Vila. The airport to the north there only open to humanitarian flights, and roads around the port area affected by landslides. The damaged US Embassy and New Zealand High Commission building, located in the central city, and not far away, one of the buildings that totally collapsed, also one of the sites causing most concerns. A New Zealand Hercules has just left for Vanuatu carrying supplies and urban rescue specialists. One of our Air Force Poseidon surveillance planes taking off earlier this morning to assess the damage. Our coverage tonight begins with Pacific correspondent Barbara Drever.
The world moved, but in the moments after, time stood still. Then, pandemonium.
Lucas, are you okay? Are you okay?
All building all collapsed. Condolences lo mi kolol. Families were only lose some last ones.
The police commissioner says search and recovery is a priority. Officials say the death toll's likely to rise. A focus of rescue efforts is the Billabong building in central Port Vila. This morning, workers could hear 3 people alive and in reportedly good condition under the rubble.
Have we got an ambulance for them when we get them out?
Overnight, there were grim scenes, rescuers putting everything on the line.
We understand that there's 8 people trapped inside and the guys are just moving slowly to be able to get in. It's not a good scene.
But amidst the carnage, some hope. A woman pulled out alive. As time ticks on, the rescue efforts are becoming more urgent.
2 buildings that are the ones that are most seriously affected, where they think people might still be in, at the Billabong store. That's where a big chunk of the recognised loss of life so far has come from. There's a larger building called Wong Garage, which is a 5-level building. It's lost the 2 floors, been pancaked. And that's where we think that there might be some, a reasonable number of casualties, unfortunately, because we don't know how many people are in there.
It's not just the commercial area. A woman was found dead, crushed under this water tank at home. It's estimated there's hundreds more injured.
There is confirmed reports from the Vanuatu Mobile Force that they rescued 5 children who were buried by landslides on Eastern Efate, and those children were taken directly to Vila Central Hospital.
The hospital is stretched past capacity, triage taking place outside. The lack of clean drinking water starting to have an impact.
And now we have more and more people also at hospital, and particularly children with diarrhea and such type of things, because we had lack of access to water, and they start to drink contaminated water, and it's really worrying.
Evidence of the quake can be seen outside Port Vila.
Look at that one. Holy shit.
Wow.
But there's no doubt the focus remains on the capital. For a nation used to regular quakes, this is one that will be hard to recover from.
All right, Barb, bring us right up to date. What's the latest on the situation in Port Vila?
Well, as you heard, 14 dead. However, our sources are telling us that it's 20. However, that is unconfirmed. But we know that the officials are telling us that that number is going to go up. And that's not just because they're going to find people in the rubble. They're already expecting that. But there are also people who are very seriously injured. There are at least 55 people in hospital with very serious injuries. And there's been a second medical health facility that's been set up, and that's the Vanuatu Mobile Force Hospital, which has been set up at Cook's Barracks, and they're already seeing a lot of injuries coming in, like open fractures, that kind of injury. So, and as well as that, they are expecting to ask for international medical help. So we're expecting to get that request soon. Of course, Simon, you've also got the sanitation, the water situation, and there are 23,000 people at the moment in urgent need.
What are the biggest challenges they're facing right now?
Well, telecommunications is the big one. And yesterday, soon after that quake hit, the police were having to go up and down the streets using loudhailers, trying to tell people where to go and to seek safety. And of course, there's been interviews done with the police and so forth, but the local population can't hear it, except unless you've got Starlink, and that's how some people are getting out. So that's a big one. Also, New Zealanders, there are 70 registered Kiwis in Vanuatu, and the New Zealand High Commission has been reaching out to hotels because, of course, they can't give them a call. So that is a big one, but a glimmer of good news, and that is that the power is just starting to trickle on in the capital, and we are starting to see a little bit of telecommunications coming back on, but it is patchy. Flights, commercial flights, possibly tomorrow, but more likely Friday. But as you've just seen, that we are looking at aid flights getting in as soon as possible.
Everything across the board, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thanks very much for that, Barb. Kia ora. Well, as we've been reporting, the damage to some buildings in Port Vila is staggering. Here's one of the main sites. This is an image of the Billabong shop in the centre of town before the quake, and then this from yesterday, the pancaked ruins as the rescue operation continues tonight. Former One News journalist Adrian Stevenon was in Port Vila when the quake hit. He sent this to us a short time ago.
Well, it's been a tragic and challenging 24 hours here in Port Vila in Vanuatu. When the earth began to shake violently yesterday, a colleague and I were just 200 metres down the road having lunch at a waterfront cafe when everything began to shake. Obviously, people were frightened, started running for clear space. But we weren't to know just 200 metres down the road that the Billabong building had collapsed behind us. We were down here when rescue services were working really hard to try and save as many people as they can. Right now, Vanuatu is short on petrol, short on fuel, rationing water. Water to the wider Port Vila area is starting to come back on, but most of it's still without electricity. There are a lot of displaced tourists, myself included, are looking for accommodation at the moment as our hotel has been pretty much destroyed. But they're really looking forward, the locals here, to get some help with getting infrastructure, water, electricity and communications back on.
New Zealand rescue teams are currently on their way to Vanuatu to help with response and recovery efforts. The government confirming it's dedicated to supporting the island nation if needed. It comes as Vanuatu communities here have been trying desperately to get in touch with family affected by the quake. Isabel Prasad has more.
The quake's destruction and sheer devastation weighing heavy on the heart and mind of this Vanuatu Kiwi man.
It must be pretty devastating to see your home like that.
Yep, yeah, definitely. Sorry.
He spent the past 24 hours in anguish trying to get in touch with family in Port Vila.
It's been kind of stressful, really, almost going to the point of desperation.
But this afternoon, relief.
Hello? Carlo? That's a bit of a relief.
Yeah, who was that?
That was my older brother.
And what did he say to you?
He wasn't sure who was ringing.
Countries across the Pacific mobilising to support response efforts for the quake-stricken island nation. A New Zealand Defence Force Hercules leaving Whenuapai Air Base this afternoon, carrying rescue teams and much-needed supplies.
Well, it's medical supplies, there's all sorts of expert things that they need. We're setting up a serious team, and I say another plane's going to be leaving later tonight.
Australia also deploying several disaster response teams.
The disaster assistance response team is made up of firefighters, paramedics, volunteer engineers, cone handlers and doctors.
Humanitarian organisations, including World Vision, supporting efforts too. With electricity out and food and water scarce, those on the ground are desperate for aid from overseas.
The water situation is becoming dire as the time goes on. We hope that there's going to be a restoration of the supplies.
The region's no stranger to large quakes.
The Australian plate is subducting under the Vanuatu plate. And so we've seen something on the order of 30 magnitude 7s in the last 25-ish years.
GNS now working with teams in Vanuatu and warning the threat isn't over yet.
What we expect to see in an aftershock sequence like this is that aftershocks will decay in magnitude and in frequency with time. However, there is a small potential that there could be more significant earthquakes in this sequence.
Our government says it will continue to provide support to Vanuatu when and if needed, a comfort for people like Jonas, who feel so far from home. Isabel Prasad, One News.